If it's Friday night, say yeah. For it is Strictly Sports. Hello, friends. Anthony Floyer here, alongside Girl MF Michael Fletcher and Michael Bolick. Oh my goodness! I mean, whoa, what a night! A little while ago, I was channeling my inner Michael Cole when I say, "You got to be kidding me! You got to be kidding me!" Yeah, what happened? Your PC Friars did the unthinkable. They knocked off Xavier in the Big East tournament. Oh my goodness gracious! I did not see that coming whatsoever. I was expecting Xavier to put a major whooping on us, but my lord, that just goes to show, folks, anything can happen on any given day. And wow, that's all I can say. And a lot of exciting things going on, not just March Madness, NFL news as well. Richard Sherman being released by Seattle, Aqib Talib going to the Rams, Jarvis Landry going to the Browns. So much going on, but we'll try to bring you as up to speed as we can. So keep an eye out for any updates that might come out. So with all that being said, we were supposed to have the show last week, but unfortunately, due to the very bad weather that hit our area a week ago with the nor'easter, with the heavy rain and the heavy winds and all that, Derek Ferreira decided to put the kibosh on our show last week. Because of that, he said he wasn't taking any chances because one or all of us could have lost power. I was lucky. I didn't lose anything. I don't know how MF and Bullock made out. I know MF lost power at his job at Walmart.
I didn't
Bullock,
lose
how did
any
you make
power at my home.
What's that, Bullock?
I didn't lose any power at my home.
Hmm. Maybe we could have done. Maybe we still could have done a show last week. But
Yeah, likewise. I didn't lose any power either.
Yeah, we could have done a show last week, but obviously Derek didn't want to take any chances.
Which was the right decision. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a good
it
storm.
definitely was a nasty storm. A lot of people got affected. So
Oh
I
God.
think for once I have a lot of the times we kind of we caution in the side of safety, and a couple of times in the past where maybe one of us lost power or two of us lost power but one didn't. This was just one of those instances where all three of us sounds like we all got lucky here, that we didn't lose any power. But there was a few people that I know, especially in the 2184 crew, that wasn't so lucky, and some of them were basically down for at least up to Sunday. So I mean, they definitely were struggling for the last few days. But now we could have done it, but better to side on the error of caution. So now, props to the producers, props to Ferreira for not doing it. Quite frankly, my mind was not really set it on doing it last week anyway because of the power loss and everything else that happened at Walmart. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So but yeah, definitely the right decision, but by Derek and the producers not to um have us do the show last week. So with all that being said, what we're gonna do is we are going to go about the docket that was set for last week's show. You heard me say as we signed off on the Cerebral Smack Talk the other night. It's not often I say this, but I'm gonna be honest. I have to 100% compliment and give kudos to Derek and the producers for putting together one of the finest dockets I've ever seen. I mean, we look forward to every docket we do, but this one right here, there's a lot of issues in this week's docket that really need to be addressed, and I am so glad and so grateful that we are gonna, we got the platform tonight to address these issues, and we are going to go as in depth with these issues as we can. So a lot of serious issues here tonight, and I'm glad that we're going to be getting to the forefront of all of these. I mean, yes, there's some lighter notes too, especially with the first item on our docket for this week. This is a very light note. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they signed their franchise quarterback Blake Bortles to a brand new deal, a new 3-year, $54 million deal, and the latest extension is the biggest. And this was reported by NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. It's a $54 million 3-year deal, including $26.5 million guaranteed. And the new deal replaces Bortles' current deal, which had 1 year remaining on it via the 5th-year option included in his rookie contract. The quarterback was scheduled to make $19 million this year, but will instead make $20 million this year, $16 million in 2019, and $18 million in 2020. Bortles can make a maximum of $66.5 million with all incentives and escalators included, as reported by another NFL Network executive, Tom Pelissero. Given his inconsistent nature, Bortles is one of the most polarizing figures associated with the Jaguars organization. Drafted 3rd overall in 2014, he arrived as the heir to the faceless throne in Jacksonville, but has struggled as often as he's been successful. He posted 3 3,500-plus yard seasons passing and has finished with a negative touchdown-to-interception ratio just once in his career. In the same breath, we have to mention his up-and-down play, a breakdown of his mechanics in 2016, and his occasionally inexplicable decisions which lead many to believe he'll ultimately sink the Jaguars. It was easy to pin the blame on him when Jacksonville went 3-13 in 2016, but not as much this past year when the Jaguars went 10-6, made the playoffs, and pulled off 2 postseason victories. You know, a 10-3 defensive battle win over my Buffalo Bills in the wild card round, and then a 45-42 shootout win over Pittsburgh in the divisional round before losing to the New England Patriots in one of the finest AFC championship games we've seen in a while. Jacksonville is a young and wildly talented team, especially on the defensive side, that many felt was a good quarterback away from being the best in the AFC. Having said that, anyone who watched Jacksonville's postseason run would back Blake Bortles, and I'm one of them. Sure, his AFC wildcard performance was not great when it came to his arm, but the quarterback surprised everyone by using his legs to extend drives in a 10-3 win on a windy day in Jacksonville. Week later, he picked apart the Pittsburgh Steelers defense as part of a brilliant game plan schemed and called by offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Just when Pittsburgh needed a stop, it couldn't get one because Bortles was busy capping a crucial drive with a touchdown pass to fullback Tommy Bohannon. In that postseason stretch, Bortles went 49 out of 85 for 594 yards and 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The money that Bortles is receiving is equal to that performance. Good, but not overly great. The new deal's $26.5 million guaranteed sounds like a lot individually, but when compared with recent signings, $60.5 million guaranteed for Matthew Stafford, $54 million for Aaron Rodgers, and $48.7 million for Jimmy Garoppolo, it's not a massive sum. Now, we can't take that a step further when we look at average quarterback salaries, with Bortles landing alongside Phillip Rivers, Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, and here's the clincher, Ryan Tannehill in the $18 to $20 million per year range. The signing means Jacksonville obviously is out of the impending Kirk Cousins sweepstakes. But as Matt Harmon, another NFL Network personality, Matt Harmon tweeted, it doesn't rule out a quarterback selection in April's draft. In the meantime, the Jacksonville Jaguars will continue to ride the wave of euphoria into this upcoming season with the same man under center. So, for me, you pretty much heard. I pretty much just answered your question. A smart move and a necessary move. Deion Sanders always likes to say, pay the man. Yeah, you paid the man, all right. And it's about time, too. I mean, coming off of the most magical season this team has had, maybe ever, to think. They were 9 minutes away from going to the Super Bowl with a 10-point lead before New England came back and won. Say what you want about that, but, you know, it is what it is. But I have reason to believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be on our radar for this upcoming season when it comes to the AFC. I mean, yeah, you still got your New Englands, you still got your Pittsburghs. That's fine and dandy. But this is a team that we should very much take seriously. And I think this team is at least 1, maybe 2 years away from finally getting to that elusive Super Bowl. I think if they had gotten there, I think they would have given Philly or even Minnesota a major run for their money. No doubt about it. But this Bortles signing, necessary, acceptable, and you couple that with the array of young talent that team has, especially on the defense, where, in my opinion, no disrespect to Aaron Donald or the Rams, but to me, Calais Campbell is the real defensive player of the year. That's all I'm saying there. So a great move by Jacksonville indeed. The future's looking bright, and I think at least 1, maybe 2 years away. I can honestly say, MF, as I bring you in, there's no doubt about it. I think within the next couple of years, my friend, you and I are going to be calling this team in the Super Bowl down the road. This team's loaded.
They're loaded, and the thing is that they got Tom Coughlin as the man who's running the ship, the president of football operation for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's rejuvenated this team. And what he's done in the last couple of years, it almost has the feel of like the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA. Trust the process. And that's what Jacksonville did. You know that there was going to be some rough years ahead, and there was, but 10-6, making it all the way to the AFC Championship game, which I believe was an overachievement for them this past year, because I don't think none of us really thought that they were going to make it at least that far. But if you remember, a year ago, I had them tapped as one of the teams to watch. Well, they didn't deliver as I thought they were gonna, and you had to wait the next year. So next year, I think we kind of dampened the expectations, and they overachieved. So we're gonna wait and see what Jacksonville does. As far as Blake Bortles goes, he deserves the money that he got. Look, it is not superstar money. It's not the top tier money in the NFL, which is fair enough because he's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. But then again, you get yourself a really good season, you really get yourself out there and have a season like he did, then obviously you deserve to get paid. It's another analogy of what Deion Sanders normally likes to do on NFL game day primetime for the network. If you ball, you get the call. If you play, if you ball out, you should get the money out. And that's what happened with him. He basically played as good as he could, had a pretty good postseason as well. And that also was a contributing factor for him to get the money that he got, is that he didn't really necessarily kill the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was just, unfortunately, in the case of the Jaguars in the AFC Championship game, it was really more the defense let them down at the end. That vaunted defense that you talked about, Anthony, kind of got gassed, and that's why Brady and company put a hurting on him, and especially at the end. So at the end of the day, it was a great game. It was a great season for them. And yeah, it was amazing what they did, and they deserve the money that he got, and he's getting a really good paycheck coming in, and quite frankly, well deserved, and nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, I'm just going to give it right to you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Blake Bortles, I think he deserved to get paid the way he did with that contract. I mean, it's obvious to me that the Jaguars, they have faith in him, and look at what he did. Look what he did this postseason. He didn't even turn the football over one time. He played really good in that divisional round against the Steelers, and I thought he was even more impressive in the AFC title game. Wouldn't you guys agree with that? That I thought he looked even more impressive in the AFC title game.
I certainly agree with that. MF and I should know. We called it, and we couldn't believe how great he was in that one.
Yeah, and you would think, with him not turning the football over, you would think that they would have been in the Super Bowl. But the only time they lose a game that they don't turn the football over is against the New England Patriots. I mean, it's only fitting, but all I can say is, what a season it was for the Jaguars. It's like when they brought Tom Coughlin in, and it really rejuvenated this Jacksonville Jaguars team, especially with that defense of theirs. And I know back in 2015 when they had a good year, both me and Fletch, we thought that this was a team to keep an eye on, while Florio, you basically said you weren't buying it, and you were correct on that in 2016. They had a disappointing season, and I thought for sure it was going into this season, it was going to be another disappointing year, but they overachieved, and like you said, they were 9 minutes away from getting to the Super Bowl, and it basically wasn't Blake Bortles' fault. It was the defense that just couldn't stop Tom Brady and the Patriots. And then in the offseason, many people thought, oh, should they go after like a veteran quarterback? Like some people thought that maybe the Jaguars would go after Eli Manning, because we all know the relationship with Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin. They won a couple Super Bowls together when they were with the Giants, but this team has faith in Blake Bortles, and like I said, he's a good player, but not a great player. But we're definitely taking this team seriously going into this upcoming season. Now, can they take that next step and finally get to their first Super Bowl in franchise history? Only time will tell, but obviously the Patriots are going to be the favorites to get back to the Super Bowl. But I'm pretty sure Jacksonville is going to have plenty to say about that. So we'll definitely wait and see how everything goes, especially with the draft and what they do. So I like the signing. It's not a lot of money, but just enough for him. He wanted to get paid, and boy howdy, he certainly did. So I really got nothing more to say. So let's just move right along, Florio.
Yes, and now it's time to get into the first of quite a few hard time stories this week. And yeah, we're gonna go as in depth with these as we can. So the first up, classic case of open mouth insert foot, and no one in the NBA when it comes to owners knows that more than Mark Cuban. How many times over the years has Mark Cuban put his foot in his mouth? So many times. Well, his latest open mouth insert foot moment was his costliest ever. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban was fined $600,000 for public statements detrimental to the NBA, as announced by NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. Cuban's comments, which concerned his perspective on the team's competitive success this season, were made during a podcast with Dr. J, Julius Erving, back on February the 18th. The NBA fined him, like we said, $600,000 for comments about tanking during a podcast with Hall of Famer Julius Erving. And Adam Silver said the fine was for quote-unquote public statements detrimental to the NBA. And the Cuban said during the 30-minute interview that he met recently with some of his players and told them, quote-unquote, losing is our best option. Cuban was trying to illustrate to Erving how he believes he is a transparent owner. And Cuban said, and I quote, "I'm probably not supposed to say this, but I just had dinner with a bunch of our guys the other night. And here we are. We weren't competing for the playoffs. I was like, look, losing is our best option." Adam would hate to be hearing that, but at least I sat down and I explained it to them. And I explained what our plans are going to be this summer, that we're not going to tank again. This is like a year and a half of tanking. That was too brutal for me. Well, the Mavericks dumped veterans Darren Williams and Andrew Bogut around the trading deadline last season and had their highest draft pick, number 9, since ending up with Dirk Nowitzki from that spot in 1998. They drafted rookie point guard Dennis Smith Jr., one of the league's rising stars. After trading veteran guard Devin Harris to Denver at the deadline this season, Dallas is tied for the fewest wins in the NBA and among 7 teams with 18 or 19 victories at the All-Star break. The latest fine surpasses the $500,000 fine Cuban was docked in 2002 for criticizing former director of officials Ed Rush, saying he wouldn't hire Rush to manage a Dairy Queen. Cuban has been fined more than $2 million, a lot of it for criticizing refs. And then Cuban told the Associated Press, I earned it when asked about the latest fine. I got excited talking to Dr. J and said something I shouldn't have. The fine came a day after Cuban's franchise was accused of having a hostile workplace for women in a Sports Illustrated report that detailed allegations of inappropriate sexual conduct by former team president Terdema Yasseri. Cuban said he was embarrassed by the allegations and vowed to improve the club's work environment. He is hiring outside counsel to investigate the claims and requiring everyone to undergo sensitivity training, including himself. The NBA has said it will monitor the investigation closely. Team fired website reporter Earl Snead, who was twice accused of domestic assault while working for the team. Snead pleaded guilty over the first incident. The charge was dismissed after he met conditions of the plea agreement. Cuban told ESPN it was a mistake not to fire Snead earlier. But we're not talking about that. What we're talking about here is Mark Cuban getting fined $600,000 for comments about tanking on the podcast with Dr. J. Julius Erving. MF, I mean, Mark Cuban, when is he ever going to learn to choose your words carefully? When are you going to learn that?
And understandable. And, you always hear that word tanking, and especially about the when it comes to a lot of the teams. I mean, you hear about Chicago this season. You hear about Phoenix, certain teams that are not going to make it to the playoffs, but they want to jockey positioning around to make it better for them in the upcoming NBA draft. And this is why all these moves are being done, is because they want to get that top pick in the upcoming NBA draft, because a lot of these one and done guys in college are possibly going to be coming into the league, and you really want to snatch up what you believe is a prime piece of real estate that you want for the upcoming future of your franchise. And yes, is it bad? Is it horrible what they're doing? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And I understand why Cuban got fined. I mean, you don't want that. That's integrity of the game. For you to admit that you're tanking games, that's really a black eye on the NBA. There's no doubt about it. You feel a little bit like what, you don't understand why he's saying it, but you get it. You don't like what you hear, and Adam Silver didn't, obviously, and he dropped the hammer, and fair enough. It was well-deserved of $600,000 fine. You never want to hear an owner saying, oh, my team's throwing games. What? No, that's unacceptable. That is definitely you're messing with the integrity of the game. This happens all the time in any major sport. Baseball, hockey, the NFL. The NFL is one of the biggest reasons there where you hear a lot about tanking and trying to put yourself in a good position for a draft pick. That's why the NBA has implemented these new rules of actually weighing the odds and saying that maybe a lower tier team has a better chance of winning the upcoming NBA draft lottery. And that's why you see the fact that, because back in the day, if you were one of the worst teams in the NBA, you had a 25% chance of winning the NBA draft lottery, where a team who is in the 11, 12, 13th position was less than 1%. Now, all of a sudden, they're trying to even it out, trying to weigh the balances, where a team at the 11, 12, 13 position actually has a better chance of winning the draft lottery now. So by doing it this way, this actually mitigates the opportunities of tanking, and to eliminate the fact that even if you just miss the playoffs, you could still end up with the number 1 overall pick. It just depends on how everything weighs out at the end of the season. So I understand why Adam Silver wants to punish Mark Cuban because the comments are definitely out of bounds. You never want to hear an owner say that, let alone having dinner with a team telling them, hey, it's better that we lose instead of winning. That's not what what professional sports is all about. You're basically spitting in the fact of the legends of the game and people who played in that. And remember, the Dallas Mavericks are a former NBA world champion. They won it all a few years ago. So for that to happen and for Mark Cuban to say that, it's definitely out of bounds, out of touch, and definitely the wrong message you want to send. Even though I get why Cuban said it, because you're thinking of this as a business and not as a game. You're taking the business side of it because you're thinking maybe if I lure one of these big names coming out of college, that will give me the opportunity to look forward and maybe give us an opportunity to get back to the playoffs and fight for the Larry O'Brien trophy next year. And like he said, if it's only for one season, all right, I get it, fine. Because there's a few teams out there, and I'm going to call them out, Philadelphia, who was tanking season after season after season, and they were never winning the NBA title because of the fact that, well, because they wanted it to put themselves in a position to where they are right now. Remember what was the mantra of Philadelphia that Joel Embiid has been talking about this whole season? Trusting the process. And that's what I think Dallas is wanting to do now, is that they want to do the same thing. Trust the process. Don't worry about the season, because to them, they've already packed it in, which is a shame. But at the end of the day, you also have to realize that, it's not just one factor. You got to think about a lot of things. Maybe there was some contracts that were really bad that you want to get off the books. Fair enough. But at the end of the day, you still got to put it all together, and you have to make yourself relevant not only to yourself but to your season ticket holders that pays a lot of money for each game that they play. 41 games at home at the American Airlines Arena in Dallas. You got to cater to them. It's almost like you have to do everything right now. It's letter of the law. And that's the competitive nature. And that is why Adam Silver once again has proven himself to be not only a great commissioner, but he is by far the best commissioner in all of professional sports. I think right now the number 2 guy is Rob Manfred, who does for Major League Baseball. Even though I think he kind of lost a little bit of my clout after this decision about time a time clock on pitching. I think that was ridiculous, but that's for another day. Well, right now, my 2 favorite commissioners in the league has been Adam Silver and Rob Manfred. Nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's all yours.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I just think that was dumb of Mark Cuban to say that. I know he said he didn't mean it, but the thing is, you just can't say that around the NBA by saying, "Oh, we're tanking just so that way we can get a good pick and get a good player." I mean, that's basically out of bounds. I mean, you don't say you're tanking. I mean, you got to basically play hard all season long, no matter how bad your record is. I mean, if you're tanking because of that, I mean, that's not only bad for your team, but that's also bad for the league. I mean, and I agree. I gotta give kudos to Adam Silver for once again stepping up and slapping the wrist on Mark Cuban with a big time fine when it comes to this. So yeah, I mean, Fletcher pretty much made every single point on it. So there's really no need for me to go any further on this. So, Flory, what's yours?
Yeah, I'm with you, Bullock. I mean, there's a reason why MF is Mr. NBA in addition to Mr. NFL. I mean, he's all over these things, no doubt about it. But Mark Cuban's biggest fines over the last 17 or so years since 2001, when you add them up all together, the man has been fined $2.3 million total. I mean, in 2001, he was fined $450,000 combined. He was fined $100,000 for sitting on the baseline during the game. And then later that year, was fined another $100,000 for derogatory gesture towards a referee. And then also in that year, he was fined $250,000 for outbursts criticizing referees. Then, of course, 2002, the $500,000 fine for the complaining about officiating, the whole Ed Rush situation. And then fast forward to 2004, another $100,000 fine for criticizing training camp rules. But 2006, he was fined another $450,000 combined $100,000 for criticizing referee selection for the playoffs, going onto the court during a game to complain. That was another $100,000 fine, and then another $250,000 fine for misconduct during the 2006 NBA Finals over officiating. And then in 2010, fined $100,000 for tampering with LeBron James. 2014, $100,000 fine for confronting officials. And then, of course, this most recent fine, the $600,000 fine for the tanking comments a few weeks ago during All-Star Weekend with Dr. J. So, yeah, I mean, MF, he covered everything. Bullock, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's really nothing more to say on this, but because MF pretty much said all of it. But for Mark Cuban, I mean, choose your words carefully next time, son. That's all I can say on that. I mean, $2.3 million, almost $2.5 million worth of fines. I mean, dude, come on now. Get your act together, son. Shape up, ship out, soldier up, son. That's all there is to say about that. Choose your words carefully.
It's almost like he doesn't care. It's almost like he's saying, "Hey, I got the money. I can if I want to pay the fine for it, I don't care."
That's right. He doesn't.
Well, I think back in the day he just didn't care because it was David Stern, and quite frankly, I don't think he really liked David Stern. I kind of feel like he definitely made a mistake, and you could see it when he apologized for the comments that he made. I think he respects Adam Silver enough, so I don't think it's that he doesn't care. I just think he it just depends who it is. I think he didn't care about David Stern, but I think he definitely has a lot of respect for Adam Silver.
Yes, and you also made a great point too, MF, that Adam Silver, to me, he is to me the best commissioner in sports today. He's head and shoulders above the other three, no question about it. I mean, not just with this, but with that possible new playoff format that he pitched also during All-Star Weekend. Got to commend him for that. Of course, the first real commendable thing he did was when he dropped the hammer on Donald Sterling. We all remember what he did with that. I mean, how we praised him for what he did for the whole Donald Sterling situation. And with this, I mean, Adam Silver is just like me in my everyday life. He's a no-nonsense guy who has integrity like you wouldn't believe. And, he has zero tolerance for injustice. And that's all there is to it. And that's why Adam Silver is the best commissioner in the game today. And yes, I agree. Rob Manfred is number 2. And then, of course, those other two guys, those other two dinks, as I say, Gary Bettman and Roger Goodell, far and away the two worst. So don't even get me started on those hammer niggers. So nothing more to say on that. So let's just move on. Staying in the NBA, Kawhi Leonard. And the story here is, will Kawhi Leonard return to the San Antonio Spurs? Well, I have the latest. Here's the latest on that. He said on Wednesday morning that he hopes to return to the San Antonio Spurs, quote unquote, soon. And looking even further into the future, he said he wants to spend the rest of his career with the San Antonio Spurs. And Leonard said soon when asked how close he was to getting back. I don't have a set date right now, but I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. The progress that I'm making is great. A pesky and mysterious quad injury has limited Leonard to just 9 games this season. He has not played since January 13th. He has recently returned to the Spurs facility to work out with the team, but Coach Greg Popovich has noted he would be, quote-unquote, surprised if Leonard plays again this season. As for his long-term future with the Spurs, Leonard indicated that he wants to play in San Antonio for the rest of his career. While it isn't much of a surprise that Leonard said this, what else is he going to say publicly? There have been rumors of his discontent with the organization. A report from Adrian Wojnarowski earlier this season said the quad injury was leading to a disconnect between Leonard and the Spurs, and Leonard's camp denied this report. When free agency begins this summer, the Spurs will be able to offer Leonard a 5-year supermax extension worth $219 million. Whoa, Michael Bullock. I mean, what do we think about that?
Man, I mean, I don't know what to say on that, but as far as Kawhi Leonard possibly coming back this season, well, I think the thing is, I don't think you want to rush yourself back into this. Because a quad injury, it's serious. It's serious, especially when it limits your mobility or any of those moves that you do in basketball. So yeah, as far as the whole discontent, reports are saying, yeah, that is the case, but both, I think, like you said, Kawhi Leonard's camp is denying it, but yeah, I think the Spurs, well, they definitely want him back. He's one of the reasons why the San Antonio Spurs won it all back in 2014. Let's not kid ourselves on that. And he's been one of their best players. So we'll wait and see how it all goes the rest of the way if they do decide to bring him back. So if it's like a real serious injury, then I think you need to just basically, take your time and make sure you're fully healthy. You don't want to rush yourself back and then all of a sudden you re-injure the quad and boom, your season's over. So we'll wait and see how it all plays out. So Florio, it's yours.
Yes, indeed. Kawhi Leonard, he finally spoke up. 9 games this season, he had been silent about the status of the quad injury and his return timetable and the rumored discord between his camp and the Spurs. But few NBA players can change the playoff conversation with their mere availability, and Kawhi Leonard is one of them. The San Antonio Spurs, for me, are a nice, scrappy team without him. With him, they can make a compelling case for being the league's third-best team. The Spurs and Greg Popovich on multiple occasions have said the star was cleared to play by team doctors, but Leonard hasn't played, and he wouldn't come out and say why. Through reports, we learned that Leonard still didn't feel fully healthy. His statements the other day didn't provide much insight, but they still felt long overdue. Leonard's comments will surely lower fans' anxiety surrounding the Spurs' future. But more importantly, his stated intentions to return give the team a whole new look as we head into the season's stretch run. San Antonio is tied for 5th in the West, but it's 2.5 games from being out of the playoff seeding and only a game and a half below the 3-seed Blazers. The team's remaining 18 games could lead to home court advantage in the first round or its first missed postseason since the 1996-1997 season. Everything is in play in a tight conference that may be adding one of the world's 5 best players into the mix. If the Spurs drop into a low playoff spot, that 5-8 register, it could make the first round a hellscape for the Houston Rockets or the Golden State Warriors. Imagine the reactions, if you will, of James Harden and Kevin Durant when they realize that when they dribble up the court, it will be with a healthy Kawhi Leonard defending them on the perimeter. That's nightmare fuel. That's all there is to say on that. And for as much as we look for any weakness inside the Spurs machine, Greg Popovich still has a makeshift roster that is tied for the second best defense in the league and the third best point differential in the West. Adding Kawhi Leonard to that mix gives them the potential to beat anyone on any night, even if on paper their talent level is not up to snuff. The Spurs should be the 3 seed. It's fair to ask how good Leonard will be once he plays again, or even how long his reacclimation will take. But if Kawhi Leonard returns before the season is up, they still might vault themselves into the 3rd spot and disrupt this upcoming NBA playoff year like only they can. Period. And the statement and the quotation. MF, what do you say to that? How do you follow that?
It all depends on Kawhi Leonard. It all depends on if he's healthy enough, if he's gonna go. If they do that, then yeah, absolutely. You're gonna get those kind of situations, and you never know how this plays out. You hope for the best, and that's all that you can really say about it. Yes, what I've heard, because I've been very deep and had a very close eye on all these situations that has been happening with the Spurs, because with me being the NBA guy, so I mean, what you're seeing is what you got, and that's all that you can say about it. This season's been definitely an interesting one, almost to the point that it almost feels like if they're all together, if they were a cohesive unit and all together, I think San Antonio's still a favorite to win the title. But with Leonard being out, with injuries galore, it kind of feels like Popovich has really had to work his magic, and this has been without a doubt one of the most toughest seasons he's ever had to work. And we'll wait and see what happens. It's been an unfortunate dilemma that's been breaking out. So we'll wait and see what happens. Nothing more to say, but we're just gonna go from there. And Anthony, it is all yours.
Yes, indeed. And now we're gonna get into a story that I broke recently. This is something that I had found. I have the ESPN app on my phone, and this next story that we're going to get into is something that I broke. I broke this story back on February the 20th. I broke this story, and we're going to be talking about the Louisville Cardinals men's basketball team, and they were forced to vacate their 2013 national championship. So here it is. The Louisville men's basketball program will have to vacate its 2013 national championship and 2012 Final Four appearance after the NCAA denied its appeal of what the school described as quote-unquote draconian penalties levied against the team last year. The NCAA announced its ruling February 20th. Louisville interim president Greg Postel said in a statement that the school still disagrees with the NCAA's ruling. I cannot say this strongly enough. We believe the NCAA is simply wrong, Postel said. We disagree with the NCAA ruling for reasons we clearly stated in our appeal, and we made a strong case based on NCAA precedent that supported our argument. The Cardinals will become the first Division I men's basketball program to ever vacate a national title during the Final Four era, according to ESPN Stats and Information. We'll remove the official recognition, but it won't remove it from our hearts and minds, Louisville Interim Athletics Director Vince Tyra said during a news conference held shortly after the announcement. It brings closure to one of these situations. It's not going to bring closure to the successes and memories our teams had. I'm sad for our players and certainly our staff members. The NCAA penalties are the result of an investigation that included allegations that a former Louisville staff member arranged for striptease dances and sex acts for players and recruits during parties at an on-campus dormitory from 2011 to 2015. This dark cloud has hung over our heads for more than 2 years, and it has had a negative impact on our athletics program, our fans, and the entire university family, Postel said in a statement. While we disagree with the NCAA's decision, it is time for the university to close this chapter and move forward with a stronger commitment to excellence on and off the court. Former Louisville coach Rick Pitino has denied knowledge of the parties. The NCAA penalties, which were announced on June 15th, included the vacation of basketball records in which ineligible student athletes competed from 2011 to 2015. The school had previously said the penalties would affect 123 victories, including 15 NCAA tournament wins and the 2013 national championship. The Cardinals also were placed on NCAA probation for 4 years, which includes scholarship reductions and recruiting restrictions, a $5,000 fine, and the forfeiture of any money received through conference revenue sharing from the 2012 to 15 NCAA tournaments. Postel said Tuesday that he expects the sum to be less than $1 million, though there were some reports that the sum could be as much as $15 million. The Cardinals had already self-imposed a postseason ban for the 2015-16 season. At the time the penalties were announced, Postel said in a statement that the NCAA penalties went beyond what we consider to be fair and reasonable. Louisville sent a 68-page appeal to the NCAA on August 11th, in which it said college sports governing body imposed draconian penalties and ignored the school's self-imposed punishment. The NCAA investigation centered around allegations made by Katina Powell, a self-described former escort who alleged in the book, Breaking Cardinal Rules, Basketball and the Escort Queen, that former Louisville staffer Andre McGee paid her $10,000 for 22 shows at the Cardinals dormitory from 2010 to 2014. Pitino, who held the distinction of being the only coach to guide 2 Division I men's programs to national titles, Kentucky in '96 and Louisville in 2013, denied knowledge of what McGee was doing, but the NCAA Committee on Infractions ruled that Pitino violated NCAA head coach responsibility rules by failing to monitor McGee's activities. Pitino, who was fired as Louisville's coach on October 16th, faced a 5-game suspension at the start of ACC play this season. For 35 some odd years, I've had a lot of faith in the NCAA and have reacted that way accordingly as a head basketball coach in the belief of their rules, Pitino said during a news conference on June 15th. Not only is it unjust, over the top severe, but personally, I've lost a lot of faith in the NCAA that I've had over the last 35 years with what they just did. I'm going to put all my faith in the appeals committee that they will do the right thing. We believe we will win the appeal because it is right, it is just. What went on, the NCAA's ruling, was unjust, inconceivable. McGee, who never talked to NCAA investigators, was given a 10-year show cause. The escort scandal was only the beginning of Louisville's off-court troubles. On September 26th, the FBI arrested 10 men, including 4 assistant coaches from across the country, after a 3-year investigation into college basketball corruption. The allegations in the federal complaint included an accusation that Adidas executives Jim Gatto and Merle Code conspired with former sports agent Christian Dawkins and financial planner Munish Sood to funnel $100,000 to the father of Louisville recruit Brian Bowen to ensure that his son signed with the Cardinals. The FBI said telephone records show Gatto spoke directly with an unnamed Louisville coach multiple times in the days before Bowen committed to play for the Cardinals. Pitino was not named in the federal complaint. Pitino was placed on administrative leave on September 27th and then fired with just cause on October 16th. Athletics director Tom Jurich was fired with cause 2 days later. Associate head coach Kenny Johnson was also placed on administrative leave and later fired as a result of the FBI investigation. In a wide-ranging interview with ESPN's Jay Billis on October 19th, Pitino said he takes full responsibility for any staff member he hires, but also emphasized that he thoroughly vetted his assistant coaches. On multiple occasions during the interview, Pitino referred to a lie detector test, which he volunteered to take as a way to again say he was not aware that Bowen's father received payments of $100,000 as alleged. Adidas, which sponsored the Cardinals, promptly terminated its personal services agreement with Pitino. The Louisville Courier-Journal reported last year that Pitino received 98% of the $39 million the Cardinals were owed from the sponsorship deal with Adidas. Pitino filed a federal lawsuit against Adidas in October, alleging the company deliberately damaged his reputation by ending their agreement. Pitino also sued the University of Louisville Athletics Association for breach of contract in federal court on November 30th. His lawyers claimed the school wrongfully suspended and then fired him, and they argued that he is owed $38.7 million for the remainder of his contract through 2026. The university filed a countersuit against Pitino on December 13 for wrongful conduct and argued that he is financially responsible for damages caused by the recent scandals. The federal complaint requests that Pitino repaid monetary losses that might arise from vacated games and bonuses. Bowen, a five-star recruit from Saginaw, Michigan, was indefinitely suspended by Louisville officials in September and never played in a game for the Cardinals. He has denied knowledge of the pay-for-play scheme and transferred to South Carolina on January 10th. A lot to take in, I know, but this was something that really needed to be addressed. I broke this story the day it came out because I felt it was necessary. This is a very big deal, and this is a damn shame. I mean, that 2013 team that won it all, not only was that team fun to watch, but I went on the record and said that team was so good that they were going to win it all. I believe I'm pretty sure we did a Selection Sunday special that year, and I don't know where in our archives it is, but I guarantee you, if we go back to those archives, you'll clearly hear me say that I predicted Louisville to win that national championship that year, and lo and behold, they did. Now, for all this, I mean, a gentleman that I work with at my work, his name is Ed Brown. You know, I mentioned him in our shout-outs a few weeks ago. You know, I was actually on my lunch break at my work when I reported this story, and a few of my sports buddies were actually in close proximity with me, and including Ed, and I told him and another friend of mine, Scott Hoyle, that hey, Louisville has to vacate their national championship, and when that happened, Ed was so happy because I'm going to tell you right now, my buddy Ed is not a big fan of Louisville, and especially Rick Pitino. He is not a fan of his whatsoever. He even went as far as to say, Anthony, that guy's a scumbag. And I'm like, yeah, I can understand why, a lot of people don't like him, and including Ed. I mean, to go as far as to say a scumbag, oh, okay, tell me how you really feel, brother. That's all I can say there. So, yeah, I mean, I know Pitino is a very shady character. I will admit it. Yeah, even though he's one of the greatest college coaches of all time, but we can no longer say he's a dual program championship coach, because now that this title is vacant, at least he still has that 96 title that he won with Kentucky. So, nonetheless, I mean, so many problems for this team right now. I mean, of course, in the ACC tournament recently, just a day or so ago, Virginia put a whooping on them, and we don't know what their status is going to be for the tournament come this weekend, Sunday. But there's no place in sports, whether it's college sports or pro sports, for nonsense like this. And I know that they, deny it all they want, but that's all. That's what everybody always does. They always deny it. They always, take the low road in these situations. But for me, man up, admit it, and who knows, maybe they'll go easier on you. But you kept it underdark, and as much as I loved watching that 2013 team, and as much as I, was happy knowing that I predicted that they were going to win it all, and they did. I hate to say it, but they got what they deserve. Keep things like this under wraps, you deserve to be punished, and punishment fits the crime. And I could not agree with it more. Integrity of the game. That's what I'm all about. I'm all about honor. I'm all about integrity. I'm all about fair play. And none of that has anything to do with that. And that is exactly why they got what they deserve. That championship is vacant. good. That's all there is to say on that. So, in all honesty, the runner-up should assume that national championship, and that was the University of Michigan. So, as far as I'm concerned, Michigan is a two-time national champion to go along with their title that they won in 1989. So, to me, Michigan should have been the national champion in 2013. So, because they played the game the right way. So, I don't know. I just hope and pray that everything works out for those guys. I mean, we'll see what happens. And, just a damn shame. I mean, that team was so fun to watch. And, I had a blast, covering that team, because I'm a Big East guy, because they were in the Big East that year. That was before they went to the ACC. And they brought the national title home to the Big East, but unfortunately, it's now a memory. It's now by the wayside. So you deserve it, guys. That's what happens. You want to commit all these lewd acts. You want to commit all these, nonsensical acts. You're gonna pay for it, and that's how you pay for it. Wham! That's all there is to say on that. So, nothing more to say here. MF, I mean, what a damn shame. That team was so fun to watch, and to have all this come out now and lose their national championship, to me, Michigan is the rightful champion from that year.
They're the de facto national champion, Michigan Wolverines, no doubt about it. Look, I've been following it just like you have, Anthony, and yeah, it was a very embarrassing situation. But I really believe that, anybody who thought that Rick Pitino didn't have any knowledge of that is absolutely kidding themselves. I don't understand how he doesn't have any type of wire or any type of footing in this situation more than anything else. It's just absolutely disgusting what I witnessed, and, I'm sorry, they deserve what they got. You absolutely are correct about the punishment. It definitely fitted the crime. What they did was a crime thing more than anything else. And at the end of the day, that's all that you can really say about it. It's like you said, it's an embarrassing situation. That was just one thing that I could not believe that actually did happen. And there's really nothing more to say at that point. So, Michael Bullock, it's all yours.
I mean, I agree. To me, Michigan should be the national champions. But unfortunately now, I mean, 2003, that season, can say there was no national champion. And that successful season as for Louisville, it never happened. I mean, yeah, you could say it did, but with the punishment, that championship season never even took place, as far as I'm concerned. I'm glad the NCAA got this one right. The punishment certainly fit the crime. I mean, you want to commit stupid, idiotic things like this, you're going to pay for it. And for Rick Pitino to come out and say that he had no knowledge of it, you, my friend, are the total. You are the complete and utter douchebag that you are. I mean, I already hated the guy. I mean, after what he did for my Celtics back in the the late '90s, and then coming up with that rant of his that I couldn't stand. But now I hate him even more after this act. I mean, and I'll say this right now, he ain't getting another job as a coach in college basketball ever again. I mean, some school. I mean, if they're thinking of hiring him, I say stay away from him, because he doesn't deserve another chance. You want to commit stupid acts like this, you're gonna pay for it, and you're paying for it big time. So you got what you deserve. The school got what they deserved. And you guys are nothing more but a bunch of idiots. And you, Rick Pitino, are the biggest idiot out there. And Florio, you want to know what happens to guys who make sickening idiotic things like this and saying, "Oh, I had no knowledge of this." You want to know what happens for you?
And what happens to stupid idiot Muttonhead to cover them up too? That's even worse.
You want to know what happens?
What happens?
Rick Pitino
and Louisville.
You just made the list.
And Louisville made the list too.
Yeah, damn right, Florio. So you guys got what you deserve, and
Amen.
You guys are a bunch of freaking idiots. Screw you guys, and I hope you guys never win another national championship. Done, finished, move on.
Don't worry, Bullet. They're not going to be winning. They're not going to be winning Jack you know what anytime soon. So that's all I can say there. So unfortunately, the hard times just keep on coming. But I promise you, this will be our last.
Oh, whoop-de freaking do.
Yeah. I told you this was going to be a man show here tonight. This was going to be our most hard-hitting show yet. So, and we were going to get in depth with these. So, well, if you thought that was bad, oh, this could be just as bad, if not worse. Documents and bank records obtained in discovery during the federal investigation into the underbelly of college basketball detail in meticulous fashion the expenditures of prominent former NBA agent Andy Miller, his former associate Christian Dawkins, and his agency ASM Sports. They include expense reports and balance sheets that list cash advances as well as entertainment and travel expenses for high school and college prospects and their families. Yahoo Sports viewed hundreds of pages of documents from the years-long probe that had federal authorities monitoring multiple targets and intercepting more than 4,000 calls across 330 days, providing a clear-eyed view into the pervasive nature of the game's underground economy. While 3 criminal cases tied to the investigation may take years to play out, the documents viewed by Yahoo revealed the extent of the potential NCAA ramifications from the case. The documents show an underground recruiting operation that could create NCAA rules issues, both current and retroactive, for at least 20 Division I basketball programs and more than 25 players. The documents tie some of the biggest names and programs in the sport to activity that appears to violate the NCAA's amateurism rules. This could end up casting a pall over the NCAA tournament because of eligibility issues. There's potential impermissible benefits and preferential treatment for players and families of players at Duke, North Carolina, Texas, Kentucky, Michigan State, USC, Alabama, and a host of other schools. The documents link some of the sport's biggest current stars, Michigan State's Miles Bridges, Alabama's Colin Sexton, and Duke's Wendell Carter. The specific potential extra benefits for either the athletes or their family members, the amounts tied to players in the case range from basic meals to tens of thousands of dollars. And NCAA President Mark Emmert released a statement to address the latest developments in the corruption probe. These allegations, if true, point to systematic failures that must be fixed and fixed now. If we want college sports in America, simply put, people who engage in this kind of behavior have no place in college sports. They are an affront to all those who play by the rules, the statement read. Following the Southern District of New York's indictments last year, the NCAA Board of Governors and I formed the Independent Commission on College Basketball, chaired by Condoleezza Rice, to provide recommendations on how to clean up the sport. With these latest allegations, it's clear this work is more important now than ever. The board and I are completely committed to making transformational changes to the game and ensuring all involved in college basketball do so with integrity. We also will continue to cooperate with the efforts of federal prosecutors to identify and punish the unscrupulous parties seeking to exploit the system through criminal acts. An ASM balance sheet in the hands of federal investigators showed accounts through New Year's Eve 2015 with the subheading Loan to Players. It listed several who were in high school or college as receiving 4-figure and 5-figure payments from ASM Sports. Among the largest listed loans, Dennis Smith, who would go on to play at North Carolina State in 2016-17, received $43,500 according to the documents. Another document headed Pina for ASM agent Stephen Pina says Smith received a total of $73,500 in loans and includes notes about options to recoup the money when Smith did not sign with ASM. Isaiah Whitehead, at the time a freshman at Seton Hall, received $26,136 according to the documents. The PINA document says Whitehead received $37,657 and was setting up payment plan. Whitehead signed with ASM, but later left the agency for Rock Nation. Tim Korneman, at the time a junior at LSU, received at least $16,000 according to the balance sheet. Diamond Stone, at the time a freshman at Maryland, received $14,303 according to the documents. A listing that refers to Bam for $12,000 is later identified in the documents as Idris Bam Adebayo, who would go on to play at Kentucky in 16-17. He did not sign with ASM. There's a later reference to Adebayo that says he received $36,500. Bad loan, reads the document. Markelle Fultz, who would go on to play at Washington and become the number 1 pick in the 2017 draft, received $10,000 according to the documents. He did not sign with ASM. We learned of the report this morning, and it is the first we've heard about this information. NC State Athletics Director Debbie Yao responded when contacted by Yahoo Sports. The report involves an agent NC State disassociated with in 2012. Of course, we will fully cooperate with any investigations or inquiries. Yahoo Sports also reached out to officials at Seton Hall, Maryland, Kentucky, and Washington. They all declined comment or did not return correspondence. MF, I mean, what do you make of this? This is serious.
This is really bad, and this is a horrible look if you're an NCAA. But then again, I'm not surprised. This is, I think one of the guys said it best, that the NCAA is a mob or a mafia mentality. They don't give a damn about the students. They only care about their money. It's the same thing that we had to deal with FIFA and the World Cup and how corrupted they are. The NCAA has been corrupted for the last, I want to say, good 10, 20 years. So I'm not surprised that this actually is happening. What I'm surprised is the names and the teams that it is. We're talking Michigan State, North Carolina, possibly Duke. My Duke Blue Devils is actually under the fire here, and that is one of the biggest things for me that really has to set me off more than anything else. Because the thing is, I want to hear more about this. I want to know what's really going on. Why, what is the real scope of it? What's the real punishment? What's really going on? All the stuff that's happening. What is it? How is this playing out more than anything else? I think at the end of the day, you have to deal with certain situations. You got to deal with certain teams. I know Arizona is really in big trouble because there's supposedly a wire message or something like that where their head coach was talking to was going to wire about $100,000. And so, I mean, there is a lot of negativity here. More than anything else, it is horrible, it's bad, it's embarrassing, and without a doubt, it is one of the most sickening things that you'll ever see. North Carolina has already been known for academic fraud. Now, on top of that, if this thing happens, this is really going to be a real black eye for them as well. So, I mean, there's a lot to be talked about, a lot of stuff going on, to say the very least, and at the end of the day, horrible situation breaking out in all of the grand scheme of things when it comes to the NCAA. But you got to deal with what you got. You gotta wait until everything is played out, because these are accusations. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're guilty of anything. In certain instances, I think definitely the hand is caught in the cookie jar. I think Michigan State is definitely in big trouble. I think North Carolina could be in big trouble. I think Arizona is definitely in big trouble because they got proof. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, as long as you have proof, you definitely have smoke, there's fire. For Seton Hall, I don't know about their story. Duke, it's very quiet. You don't hear much about Duke, even though they were there was talk that Duke is implicated, but we haven't heard much details about Duke. So I think Duke in the instance of the Blue Devils, I think it's more of a, something about there's something about it, but we don't know. But from what I heard going into this, that, when this report was coming out, and I heard about this report, that they said almost half of last year's Sweet 16 teams that were in the tournament was implicated in this. That is a horrible thing for you to see. And not only that, but it's one of the most, I don't want to call it most disgusting things to hear, but it's definitely one of the most negative things that you're ever going to hear in basketball. But then again, like I said, it does not matter any situation. It is negative. It's horrible. And yes, you do get a horrific thing to see. But at the end of the day, all these kids don't get paid. They don't get paid, and they want to provide for families and everybody else. But there's boosters, there's other, there's people who thinks that you're the next big thing. So there's going to be that negative aspect that it's going to be trailing you with money, with all kinds of stuff, gifts, cars, houses for families. This is the culture that college basketball has had for the last 20 years. And it's always been under the radar, sweeping under the table, but now it's coming out to light. And it's not because of the NCAA, because they would like to sweep this under the carpet and say that, oh, all our colleges are wonderful. They can't do anything wrong. No. You know why this is coming out? 3 letters, y'all. FBI. When you got the feds coming after your butts, you definitely got to check yourself at the door more than anything else. Because I'm going to tell you, the feds, the FBI, they don't give a damn who the hell you are, what institution you represent. They don't care if you're a 5-time national champion or one of the great or middle of the America third college type thing, like a junior college. They don't give a damn who you are. If you're doing something illegal, they're coming after your butts and they're gonna make you pay dearly for it. And unfortunately, for some of these colleges, they are in big time trouble. And now it's up to the NCAA of what you're going to do about this more than anything else. You got to open the door now and start to make things a level playing field more than anything else. Even though I think, and I'm going to be openly admit it, when we see this bracket of 68 come out on Sunday night, and we're going to be covering it, Anthony, but I will not be surprised if we see at least maybe a quarter of those teams of the 68, maybe some of them, maybe about 10 or 20 of them will be teams that we be talking that's under investigation because of the FBI. And that's a horrible precedent. And think about the teams that have won the national championship. All these teams that won the national championships are all teams that have been in this probe. Kentucky, how many national championships have they won? Like about 10, 50, about 10 of them or something like that. 8 national championships. Duke, 5-time winner. North Carolina, I think they're like 4 or 5-time winners as well. Arizona, they won the national championship with Lute Olson way back when. Even though that's not the team that's happening now, but they're under investigation. Michigan State, they're a national champion. This is the worst thing that can happen because it brings a black eye. And when the FBI supposedly has gotten some of those teams of the Mount Rushmore of college basketball, and they might be implicated, this is not just a dark day, but it also tarnishes March Madness. We're supposed to be hyped and getting ready and all excited for the tournament, and now we got to worry about all these teams because most of them are dirty as dirt. Disgusting. It's inexplicable, inexcusable, and downright shameful. I got nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is a damn shame. I mean, like you said, we should be. I mean, what? I mean, this is March Madness, and we're supposed to be hyped up and excited about it. And for some of these teams that are going to be in the NCAA tournament and doing some of the dirty things that really, I mean, that disgust all of us. I mean, I'll tell you this right now. Whoever comes out of this is the national champion. I think we can all agree. Whoever comes out as national champion should be worried because they could suffer the same fate that Louisville just suffered, where they could have their national championship stripped. I mean, couldn't we all agree on that?
Yeah, yes, well, we can definitely agree.
I mean, Fletch, what do you think? I mean, do you think whoever wins the national championship should be worried about them getting stripped of the title because of whatever the dirty deeds they're doing?
Well, I'll answer here. Absolutely, they definitely should be looking over their shoulders. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just a damn shame, Florio. I mean, for them to resort to things like this, I mean, and Michigan State for that matter. I mean, they've already got some trouble on the way. I mean, they're already under some hot water already. I mean, we all know about the whole Larry Nassar situation, which we're not going to get into. I mean, I'm already disgusted about that, but now for them to be involved with this, it just make this whole thing even worse. I mean, for some of these teams to resort to dirty tactics like this, it's disgusting, it's despicable, and I'm disgusted as a fan of basketball for all I freaking care about. Excuse me. And I mean, it just sickens me. I mean, we should be hyped for the tournament, and all this hype has been taken away because of this freaking garbage that they're doing. And I hope the NCAA can get it right, and the FBI, they're going to be on their tails, and whatever they find, the NCAA better respond and give them a hefty, and I do mean a hefty punishment. And whatever teams get punished, they're going to get exactly what they deserve for these heinous acts that I just simply do not like. And they should get slapped on the wrist big time. I am sick. I am disgusted. And I don't give a damn of the success of any of those schools. You're gonna pay for your freaking crimes, and I hope you pay for it big time. Done. Finished. Florio. I'm done. I'm freaking done with this nonsense.
I am too, but it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed, and
even though we're not happy to address it.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, this is heartbreaking for us to have to, talk about all these.
And with it being close to NCAA tournament time, that's the other thing that upsets me.
I understand that, but that's what they want. They want us to, not get excited about the tournament. But you know what? I know this dark cloud is hanging over us, but it is not dampening my excitement whatsoever. It's March freaking Madness here. I am not going to let this.
Well, there are some other people, Florio, that may disagree with you, that this is really going to put a dark cloud over March Madness, no matter how excited you are.
I understand. I understand.
Well, let me defend Anthony Florio on this one, and and normally I'm gonna say about most of the time I won't defend Florio, but I will defend him on this. The expectation of the tournament is gonna be very high. Yes, people are gonna download their brackets or they're gonna print their brackets out, and they're still gonna do it. But the thing is that we might have another Louisville on our hands where whoever the national champion is, if they're one of those teams, they might have to vacate the title. You don't know. And that's another one of those negative aspects that we're talking about. Even though I'm excited for the tournament, I want to see it. We're covering our conference tournaments right now. Anthony covering the Big East. I'm doing my ACC work as usual. So, I mean, we're still going to be covering the conference tournaments as always. And, we're not going to break away from what we need to do. As part as this is, it's our job to cover these tournaments. It's our job to do what we have to do, let alone how we feel about the investigation and all this other hugabaloo that's going down. We're still got a job to do because that's what we are, gentlemen. We're professional about it. Whatever our feeling is, whatever our sentiment is, we're going to have to just knuckle down, bear through it. Whatever dark clouds come in our direction, we're going to have to muscle through this. Just like we had to deal with that nor'easter about a week ago, just like that ridiculous snowstorm we had to deal with a few days ago, we're going to have to soldier through it one way or another. We're going to have to put our nose to the grindstone, jump in that rabbit hole, and let's go to work. Like the motto, and you know what? I'm going to say this. Just like the motto of that hated team, and I do hate them with a passion, the New England Patriots, we got to do our job.
Right. Amen.
And let's not forget, if Michigan State's one of the schools that's mentioned in it, that's the last thing they need is another controversy especially after the whole thing with how they handled the whole Larry Nassar situation.
Absolutely. I agree with that. There's a lot of teams that don't need this right now. Louisville,
and Michigan State's definitely one of them.
Louisville doesn't need this. Michigan State didn't need this. Arizona did not need this. North Carolina does not need this. And as a matter of fact, North Carolina just beat Duke tonight. They're going to the ACC final. They're playing Virginia tomorrow night. And again, they are under the microscope because not too long ago, they got nailed for academic fraud. If you remember, North Carolina got in trouble for academic fraud. Now they might be implicated in this with the FBI. Not a good time to be in Chapel Hill right now.
And certainly not a good time to be in East Lansing.
Or wherever it is.
Because and here's the thing, Florio, before we move on. Can you imagine if Michigan State is one of the teams mentioned in it? What's going to happen with that university on top of what they're already facing with the handling of the Larry Nassar situation?
We could be talking death penalty. Very possibly death penalty.
What do you think?
Man, death penalty. I think that's a little too steep. Because if you got to remember, Michigan State with the Larry Nassar thing, that was because he was a part of the United States gymnastics. Yes, he's a doctor for Michigan State, but I don't think that's really a fine line. I don't want to cross that line. I think the Larry Nassar thing and this thing with Michigan State with college basketball, I'm sorry, I feel that's like two separate entities. But I will say this is going to make people second guess about enrolling with Michigan State University. I think this is really going to ruin them as a university. Now, as far as college athletics goes, now you're going into two different things. And that's a story for another day and a fight that we could get into at another time.
Well, the death penalty I think is too harsh. Maybe take away scholarships.
I think scholarships would probably be the best punishment, but again, because the Larry Nassar thing is about gymnastics and more geared to USA gymnastics, and the Michigan State thing, that's Tom Izzo. That's more. If anything, if Michigan State gets punished, they're gonna have to. You got to go back to see where the infractions go, how far back it goes, and then from there you got to act accordingly. So they didn't win the Big Ten championship, so do they vacate victories? That's very possible. But as far as the others go, maybe definitely you're gonna think about when it comes to those type of infractions. That's fine. I'm gonna openly admit this. I think, and I'm gonna be openly admit it. I think if North Carolina gets hit again, they might be looking at a death penalty. Because this would be the second major infraction, when it comes to college basketball for North Carolina. Because, like I said, they got nailed for academic fraud. If they get nailed with this, that's 2 penalties in a row. And I think a 3 or 4 year span, the NCAA would have no choice but to put the death penalty on the North Carolina Tar Heels.
And that would be a damn shame, I mean, with the history of that organization, or that school, I should say.
I know. It's a lot to make sense of. That's all there is to say on that. And to sum it all up, I just have one question. How far back does this go? It's time for current and former players to fess up if they broke the rules. Not just basketball, but football too. Done. Move on.
And what's it going to take for them to learn their lesson from crap like this?
I don't know, Bullock. I mean, I know you've got.
It's like they think they could do this and get away with it. No, you can't get away with this kind of garbage.
What's a rebuttal?
Quick rebuttal. The only reason why this is happening is because these kids do not get paid. They don't get paid because they're on scholarship. They got to scrap for everything that they do and the whole 9 yards. But here's the thing. I blame this on the boosters. I blame this on the alumni. I blame this on everybody else who tries to get in their ear. Agents and all these other crooks, because that's what they are. They're crooks. Okay. And they're the reasons why these colleges get themselves in trouble. It's never ever, but the thing is, it's also administrators as well, because they turn a blind eye on all these negativity, and they should roll as well. Don't blame the kids. That's the only thing I gotta say. The student athletes are innocent in all of this. Amen. A lot of the times they get forced into corners because a lot of these guys, they're not rich. They're from inner cities. They're from small town America. They're not millionaires or billionaires or silver spoon babies. They're everyday people like us. They just try to make a living, just try to make it day after day. And a lot of the times, a lot of them don't even have enough money for food, for their dorm rooms and everything else. What do you expect happens?
I don't know.
I think we're done. Let's just move on.
And I'm pleased to say that we're going to move on to a much later note. The NHL trade deadline. I'm going to flip the script here. I know Michael Bo's supposed to lead off on this, but you know what? Seeing that I'm Mr. NHL around here, I'm going to take this for a spin if you guys don't mind. So, okay. I'm going to give you...
Yeah, I don't mind for you.
What's that?
I said I don't mind.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give you my winners and losers of the trade deadline. because NHL trade deadline, it's one of the busiest times for me. You know how MF is with the NBA and all that stuff. Well, here I am with the NHL. You may disagree with me on some of these, but these are my opinions and my opinions alone. My winners and losers as follows. For winners, I know this might come as a surprise, but I got to say the New York Rangers. Remember when they went 4 straight years without a first-round draft pick? Well, it's pretty safe to say those days are very much in the rear view. After holding 2 first-rounders last year, the Rangers have 3 first-rounders, 2 seconds and 2 thirds this year, giving them 7 picks in the top 93. In Brett Howden, they got a big center with some very good offensive potential. And in Libor Hasek, they got a player who might have been the second-best defenseman in this year's World Junior Championship behind Rasmus Dahlin. In Vladislav Nemesnikov, they got a 25-year-old 20-goal scorer who is a pending restricted free agent, meaning they basically control his rights. And the deal that general manager Jeff Gordon made for Rick Nash was masterful. In getting Ryan Spooner, he got a player that might be on par with Nash right now. Forget about the first-round pick and prospect he also landed, and they parlayed a 30-year-old with an expiring contract, Michael Grabner, into a promising prospect, Igor Rykov. I know this season may not be, anything to, get excited about. I know it's probably a meh season. We're probably going to miss the playoffs for the first time in a long time. But I think the future is bright for the New York Rangers. That's why I say they're a winner. A loser, the Ottawa Senators. I think perhaps we'll find out in the coming days what the offers were for Erik Karlsson, and we'll learn that they were not enough. And if that's the case, then general manager Pierre Dorion did the right thing not dealing him. But geez Louise, this was a deal that needed to get done from Ottawa's perspective. Hanging on to Karlsson longer does nothing for either the team or the player. We all have a pretty good idea how this is ultimately going to end up, and it's not going to be pretty. Things have soured between the organization and the best player it has ever had, and this simply gives the situation more time to fester. Teams that would have been getting Karlsson for 2 playoff runs had they traded for him today are now looking at a more complicated deal this summer. My next winner, the team that I'm going to go on the record right now and say this is the team that, in my opinion, is going to win the Stanley Cup, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Already the odds-on favorites to come out of the East, the Lightning used their embarrassment of riches and picks and prospects for immediate help in Ryan McDonagh and JT Miller. McDonagh bolsters an already formidable defensive corps and still has a year left on his deal, and Miller more than makes up for the loss of Nemesnikov. Steve Yzerman has done an excellent job straddling the dual tracks of winning and drafting well, and because he has done that, he was able to make this deal with the New York Rangers. Now, Bullock, I know you're not going to like what I'm about to say here, but your Boston Bruins are another one of my losers. They were losers for the same reason the Rangers are winners. Rick Nash at the deadline? To give up that kind of haul for a pending unrestricted free agent who has put up decisively pedestrian offensive totals each of the past 3 years, and don't even get me started on his lack of postseason production, is taking quite a risk. And the Brian Gionta signing was a tough one to figure out. The guy couldn't even play in the Olympics. We get that veteran leadership is important in the playoffs, but if you're getting to the point where you have to rely on Gionta, you're probably in trouble already. The Bruins, who did such a good job this season, proving they were a contending team, they took a step backward, but still, they're still one of my teams to watch for in the Eastern Conference come Stanley Cup playoffs. Another winner, in fact, I have a couple more winners. My next winner, I hate to say it, but your back-to-back reigning and defending Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins. I mean, when all the dust settled and the Pens had worked out their 3-way deal with Vegas and Ottawa, they came away with a third-line center who was better than the one they had last year when they won the Stanley Cup. The Penguins have dispensed with any notion that they care about the future, which is exactly what you should do when you have 2 of the best players in the world and you're positioned to seriously compete for your 3rd consecutive cup. The best thing about all of this is that Derek Brassard is under contract for another year at a ridiculously friendly $3 million. Another loser, the Buffalo Sabres. Their fans have been a patient lot the past couple of seasons, including our own Jason Hixenbaugh. They still make their way to the KeyBank Arena in the middle of a Buffalo winter to watch a team that still occupies the nether regions of the NHL standings. The one flicker of hope they had this season was that they were going to get a boatload for Evander Kane. Yeah, that didn't happen. The San Jose Sharks got Kane, and in doing so, took on almost no risk. If things don't work out for Kane in San Jose, and maybe even if they do, the Sabres are looking at a second and third round pick and Jack Eichel's college line mate. The two most depressed fan bases in the NHL today undoubtedly reside in Buffalo and Ottawa. My final winner, well, actually, no, I got another one. I do have more winners. My next winner, the Winnipeg Jets. Here's a quick question. Is Paul Stastny the first player in NHL history to have a no-trade clause only to accept a trade to Winnipeg? Clearly, Stastny has seen what the rest of the league is seeing in the Jets, a team that can seriously contend for the Stanley Cup if it can only make it out of the toughest division in the NHL. This was a coup for the Jets, who now can say they have a roster that allows them to hang with the big boys. Stastny, meanwhile, was a beast in the playoffs last year, and if he brings that kind of attitude and style of play to the postseason this year, that Jets-Predators series in the second round will be something to behold. And MF, that's a series that we might want to consider calling. Yes, I said it. We might want to consider calling that series if it happens. Another loser, the New York Islanders. The Islanders are losers not because they didn't trade John Tavares, but because they refused to listen to offers for him. Having a pending UFA whom you have no idea whether or not you'll sign without at least picking up the phone is unconscionable. We get that the Islanders want to re-sign Tavares, but it's not their decision. If he signs with the San Jose Sharks on July 1st, Islander fans will look back and rue the fact that their team didn't even explore the possibility of dealing him at the deadline. Another winner, well, actually, this is my final winner, the New Jersey Devils. The Devils had a sneaky good trade deadline, one that should position them to do some kind of damage in the playoffs. They gave up nothing off their roster and got both Michael Grabner and Patrick Maroon. Grabner gives the Devils the kind of player that is tailor-made for their speed-based game and one that has proven to be one of the most productive 5-on-5 players in the NHL the past couple of seasons. Maroon no longer has the luxury of playing with Connor McDavid, but he's a big body who can give the Devils some secondary scoring. By getting Grabner and Maroon, the Devils just became a far more difficult team to shut down in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And my final loser, the Vancouver Canucks. Was Thomas Vanek's playoff run with the Montreal Canadiens 4 years ago really that bad? It must have been, since the Canucks were unable to get anything even resembling an impact player, either in the present or the future. This one reeks of making a trade just to say you got something for a pending UFA. No picks, not even a third or fourth rounder. Had the Canucks wanted Jussi Jokinen this badly, they could have plucked him off waivers this week. And would the Canucks not have been just as well off keeping Vanek and hoping to re-sign him over the summer? Vanek does not exactly have a sterling playoff resume, but the fact that there were no options other than this one speaks to how far his stock has fallen. So to recap, my losers, Ottawa Senators, Boston Bruins, Buffalo Sabres, New York Islanders, Vancouver Canucks. My winners, New York Rangers, Tampa Bay Lightning, Pittsburgh Penguins, Winnipeg Jets, New Jersey Devils. So with all that being said, I'm going to bring in the Doc Emmerich to my Eddie Enzo Olczyk. MF, Michael Fletcher, I mean, how's that for investigative reporting, huh?
Absolutely tremendous job. And as always, you nailed it right on the head. Those were the teams that I was really looking at, especially during when the deadline was happening. And it was really a flurry of action. And especially with the New York Rangers, I was really optimistic about what they were going to do. They did post that little website, or they did post not too long ago that they were considering that they were going to blow the team up, or that the team was not going to be in a situation where they were probably going to dump some teams or whatnot. And, there was that uncertainty. Well, at the end of the day, it actually panned out to be even better. And for me, I was very happy with the way that the New York Rangers, I was very happy with the New York Rangers, and and the whole 9 yards. And at the end of the day, we'll wait and see what happens. But yeah, I was not in any bad situation. I think what New York did was fine. I think Boston, I don't know if they reached. I think they might have reached. I don't know. They did get some good players, especially from New York. They did raid the closet, but in return, I mean, you got some nice young talent, especially from that New York got, especially in that trade for Rick Nash. So, big deal, but we'll wait and see what happens. But everything else, you definitely nailed. Tampa definitely is a favorite. Keep your close eye on the Vegas Golden Knights, though. I think Winnipeg is a dark horse. Winnipeg is a dark horse. You know, so we'll wait and see what happens. So, you know, so anyway, nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, I give it to you quick.
Yeah, I mean, I agree on everything you guys said. I mean, yeah, I mean the Rangers. I like some of the moves they did. I mean, they pretty much had to blow the team up, and they got some good young talent in return. So who knows? Maybe for a few years it'll take some time, and maybe they'll be back to being that team that they were that went to the Stanley Cup Finals. And the Bruins, maybe they did go. Some of the moves they did was a little bit of a reach, so we'll have to wait and see. So, yeah, everything was spot on that Florio just talked about. So, so there's really nothing more to say. So let's just move on, Florio.
And we are going to move on to our NBA power rankings for this week. And oh boy, major shakeups indeed. No question about that, especially with some of the results tonight. I mean, I had my rankings ready to go, but after some of these results tonight, I'm going to have to make some amendments here. Because, man alive, I mean, some of the results we have here tonight, just amazing. So, with that being said.
Now, the question I have to ask, Florio, regardless of what, now, me going in, my number one team is not changed because of the fact that even though they lost, I'm not gonna tip my hand on who that team is. I think a lot of people knows who it probably will be.
Yes,
but even though they lost, the margin of victory was too close that I'm willing to give them I'm willing to give them a pass on this. And because of how dominant they've been, I'm sorry, they're not falling out of the number one spot.
Yeah, I agree. So with that being said, MF, since I led off on the NHL trade deadline, start us off at number 10, and we'll see if we agree with you.
All right, let me just get to my notes over here. It's a little interesting when I have to dig deep into the notes. The notoriety is what I like to call it. All right, so let's see. Who is my number 10? All right. Keep going down here, and whoa. Okay, there's a lot of 9 and 1, so they're gonna definitely be towards the top. All right, my number 10 would be. I'm gonna go with. All right, I'm gonna start it off. You know what? This was a team that I said that we had to trust the process. So far, if the season ends today, they would be the number 6 seed in the NBA playoffs. My number 10 is none other than the Philadelphia 76ers. Amazing season. They've worked their tails off. They've done really well up to this point. And right now, I'm going to say it. If the season ends today, not only are they in the playoffs, but good luck, guys, because then you're going to have to play the Cleveland Cavaliers in round number 1. But I'm going to say this. They've proven to be very worthy enough of making the postseason, but they got to really be careful because they could slip to number 8 real easily. Right now, they are definitely on the razor's edge. Even the reason why I'm not putting them over some other teams is because, well, here's the problem. Miami Heat, 35-31, yeah, but 5-5, that's not going to get it done. And the Milwaukee Bucks, even though they got the freak Greek, they're 35-31 as well. They're 3-7 in the last 10 games. That's not power ranking worthy. I'm sorry, that's not. So for me, my number 10 is the Philadelphia 76ers. Michael Bullock, agree, disagree? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Philadelphia 76ers, they're my number 10 as well. So nothing more to say. Let's just move on to Florio.
All right, I'm going to be honest here. Regardless of the results tonight, I'm going to give you the power rankings as I saw them going into today. And whether you guys like what I say or not, this is just my story and I'm sticking to it. MF, you make a very compelling argument for Philadelphia, but I have them just as a smidge on the outside looking in.
I understand. I understand.
I had him as my number 11, if you will.
Oh,
that close. So I'm going with how I had these rankings at the start of my day, regardless of the results tonight. So, with that being said, my number 10 is a tie. And this is my only tie, believe it or not. Usually I have like 3 or 4 ties. Well, this time I only have one. And we're going to start it off with the Washington Wizards and the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're my co-number 10s. Washington Wizards 38-28. They lead the Southeast Division by 3 games. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. They're on a 2-game winning streak, including a huge win tonight. 5th in three-point shooting. They're 10th in field goals. They're 11th in points scored, 20th in rebounding. Our last power rankings were quite a while ago, so it was right around the time of the All-Star break, actually. So let's take a look. They closed out the month of February 3 out of 5. They beat Cleveland in Cleveland, lost at home to Charlotte. Nice win at home over Philly, won at Milwaukee. A tough luck loss at home to Golden State in a very good game. Lost at home to Toronto in Indiana. But since then, a home win over Miami, and then tonight, they beat one of the hottest teams in the league and a team that's still in my top 3, even though they did lose tonight, the New Orleans Pelicans. They're at Miami tomorrow, and then they host Minnesota on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, they're at Boston. Big game there. Home against Indiana on St. Patrick's Day. And then they're at San Antonio. And then they host Denver. Our next power rankings will be in 2 weeks on March 23rd. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it with Washington. So the Washington Wizards' first number 10 and my other number 10 is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Allow me to back that up. They're 6-4 in their last 10 as well, 38-29. 1-game winning streak. And they're 4th in rebounding, 11th in points scored, 18th in field goal percentage, 26th in three-point shooting. And since our last rankings, road win at Sacramento, got blown away by Golden State in Golden State. Home win over Orlando, road win at Dallas, road win at Phoenix, road loss at Portland, lost to Houston this past week, and then a nice win over Phoenix the other night. Huge game tonight against the San Antonio Spurs, the ABC Saturday night game of the week. And then they host Sacramento. And then they're at Atlanta. They're home against the Clippers, at Toronto, at Boston, and home against Miami in a couple weeks. So, yes, indeed. So that's it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Remember, I'm going by the rankings that I had going into the start of the day. So my co-number 10s are the Washington Wizards and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Moving on to number 9, your multi-time defending Eastern Conference champion Cleveland Cavaliers. They come in at number 9, 38-26, 6-4 in their last 10 games, 2-game winning streak. Currently sit as the 3 in the East. They're 5th in field goal percentage and points scored, 9th in three-point shooting. The rebounding is their Achilles heel. They have to work on that. They're 23rd. But other than that, the other numbers are solid. Since our last rankings, home loss to Washington, road win at Memphis, bad home loss to San Antonio, hard-fought home win over Brooklyn, they lost at home to Philadelphia, lost at home to Denver, They had two nice wins this week: a home win over Detroit and a road win at Denver. And currently, right now, they're losing to the Los Angeles Clippers, 92-79 in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth, about 10:23 to go. They're at the Lakers Sunday night, at Phoenix Tuesday, at Portland Thursday, at Chicago next week. They're in the midst of a 6-game road trip before they finally come home on the 19th to host Milwaukee. And then they got Toronto coming in, and then they got Phoenix coming in, and that's our next rankings in a couple weeks. So that's the story there. So my number 9 is the Cleveland Cavaliers. So MF, do we agree or do we disagree with that? Remember, these rankings are based on how I had them at the start of the day today.
Yeah, that's fine. I kind of have to feel. I kind of was feeling this one around, and yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say this. I don't like ties. I don't like those kind of things. I kind of, you know how me and how I very much frown upon seeing ties in the league. But I'm gonna say this. My number, when you talk about it, I'm gonna do this. I feel like right now I'm gonna go with and this is one of those instances here where I guess we're gonna agree to disagree on this. So this is what I'm gonna say. My number 10, I'm actually gonna go with the should I put all right, this is what I'm gonna do. Yes, I'm gonna say Philly's out. They're not in it. I'm gonna leave them at bay. They're eliminated. But I'm not gonna do the tie. My number 10 is the Oklahoma City Thunder. That I will confirm. My number 9, though, I'm giving it to the Washington Wizards. I'm giving the Wizards number 9, and that is what I'm gonna do. So, OKC number 10, number 9 is Washington. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I gotta agree with the same things. I mean, I gotta switch it up too with OKC, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and is my number 10, and number 9. I have to say it's the Washington Wizards as well. So nothing more to say. Let's move right along to number 8, and I think Fletch starts us off.
And here is where I have, for me, this is where I'm going to put the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think Cleveland's deserving here. There's really nothing more to say. Cavaliers is my number 8. Bullet, go.
Yeah, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're my number 8 as well. So nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
Obvious disagreement because I had Cleveland at number 9. My number 8 is the Boston Celtics. 6-4 in their last 10. They've also won 2 in a row, but I put them ahead of Cleveland because of the record. They're 46-20. They're 2.5 games behind Toronto, not just in the Atlantic Division, but also for that number 1 spot in the East. 46-20. They and the Raptors, as of right now, are the only 2 teams in the Eastern Conference that have clinched playoff spots by virtue of their win last night over Minnesota. Now, the Celtics are 4th in three-point shooting. They're 8th in rebounding. They're 16th in points scored. The field goal percentage they have to work on. They're 22nd in that echelon. But since our last rankings, they've done pretty well. They came out of the All-Star break blazing. I mean, road wins over Detroit and New York, home wins over Memphis and Charlotte, before losing a tough loss at Houston last Saturday night in a very exciting game. And then road wins over Chicago and Minnesota this week. They host Indiana Sunday night. And then they host Washington on Wednesday night, ESPN. Huge game there. First half of an ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader. They're at Orlando next Friday. At New Orleans next Sunday. They host Oklahoma City on the 20th. And then they go to Portland on the 23rd. Very tough schedule indeed for the Celtics. I mean, coming up. I mean, Indy, they're in my top 5. Actually, no. Indiana is in my rankings. Washington, we already talked about them. Orlando, team. New Orleans, top 3 team, even with their loss tonight. Oklahoma City already in our rankings, and Portland, another top 3 team in my rankings. So murderer's row schedule to say the very least, but we'll see what this team is really made of. So with that being said, the Celtics, Boston Celtics, are number 8. My number 7, this is where I had the Indiana Pacers. Indiana Pacers, 38-28. They're a game behind Cleveland in the Central. 7-3 in the last 10 games. They won their game tonight. They're 4th in field goal percentage. They're 7th in 3-point shooting. 14th in points scored. 22nd in rebounding. And since the last rankings, home win over Atlanta, bad road losses at Dallas and Atlanta, but they picked it up with road wins in Milwaukee and Washington, a home win over Milwaukee. They got beat down at home by Utah the other night, but they rebounded with an easy win over Atlanta tonight. They're at Boston on Sunday night, big game there. They're at Philadelphia Tuesday. They host Toronto Thursday, at Washington next Saturday. They got the Lakers coming in on the 19th, at New Orleans on the 21st, and then home against the Clippers on the 23rd. So that's another tough schedule coming up. But I've liked Indy's body of work, and to me, they're my number 7. So number 7, Indiana Pacers. MF, agree, disagree? What?
Well, this is one of those instances where, again, I gotta stick where it is. Yes, I agree. Well, I obviously will put Boston at number 7. I think Indiana deserves to be a little more higher than that. I got nothing more to say about that. So my number 7 is the Indiana is actually the Boston Celtics. Bullock, go.
Yeah, I got the Boston Celtics as my number 7 as well. So nothing more to say. Let's move right along to number 6.
Number 6. This is where I have the Indiana Pacers. I think the 7-3 is definitely a great mark. I'm not gonna make that much more of a hoopla about it. So, Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I got the Indiana Pacers as my number 6 as well. So I think there's really nothing more to be added to it. Let's just move right along to Florio.
Disagreement here. Number 6. My number 6 is our good friend Al Braderson's team, the Utah Jazz. 8-2 in their last 10 games. Winners of 5 in a row. 36-30. I mean, that Northwest Division, very competitive. I'll say that for sure. 7th in 3-point shooting, 17th in field goal percentage, 21st in rebounds, 23rd in points scored. One of the most underrated teams. I mean, they've done very well since the All-Star break. Well, it started off a little rough. Home loss to Portland, home win over Dallas, home loss to Houston. And then this is where they got better. They won 5 in a row. Home win over Minnesota, road win at Sacramento, home win over Orlando, a nice road win in Indiana Wednesday night, and then an easy road win in Memphis tonight. Big one at New Orleans on Sunday. And then they host Detroit Tuesday. Phoenix comes in on Thursday. They host Sacramento next Saturday. Tuesday the 20th, they host Atlanta. And then Thursday the 22nd, they're at Dallas. And then Friday the 23rd, they're at San Antonio. So things looking up for Al Braderson's team. They're in the midst of that playoff race. It's a neck and neck right now in the Western Conference. I mean, as of now, Utah's on the outside looking in. I mean, they're tied with Denver, but for some odd reason, Denver has the tiebreaker over Utah, I guess. So they're right there in that playoff race. And if they make it, they're going to be a very tough out. They're going to give Houston or Golden State or whoever gets that number 1 spot a very, very tough series. So the Utah Jazz are my number 6. Moving on to the top 5. And this is where things are going to get really dicey here. Okay. It's because of the fact that certain teams have played so very well that I have to give other teams benefits of the doubt. So, number 5, I have the Toronto Raptors. 7 in a row, 9-1 in the last 10 games. Humongous win tonight. But even though the team they beat lost, to them, the team they beat is still the top dog as far as we're concerned. A little spoiler alert there. But keep in mind, there are other teams that are playing unbelievably just as hot as they are right now. And remember, these were my rankings going into the day. So Toronto comes in at number 5. Their resume, you can make an argument, is number 1 caliber, especially with their win tonight. They're 3rd in points scored, 7th in field goal percentage, 16th in rebounding, 21st in 3-point shooting. They have to work on that. But since then, since the All-Star break, a bad home loss to Milwaukee, easy home win over Detroit, easy road win in Orlando, a nice road win in Washington, home win over Charlotte, home win over Atlanta, road win at Detroit, and then tonight they snapped the Houston Rockets 17-game winning streak and handed the Houston Rockets their first loss since January 26th. They got an easy schedule coming up. Well, the next 2 games at least. They're at New York. They're at Madison Square Garden on Sunday. That should be an easy win. They're at Brooklyn on Tuesday. Another easy win. They got a tough test on Thursday when they have to go to Indiana. That's not going to be an easy one. And then they go back home to host Dallas. That's an easy win. Another tough one against Oklahoma City on the 18th. Easy game at Orlando on the 20th. Tough one against Cleveland on the 21st, especially in Cleveland. And then they got Brooklyn coming in on the 23rd. You can make an argument that this team easily could be number 1, but there are 4 other teams that are actually playing even better than they are. And they're just number 5. That's just how good the 4 teams I have ahead of them are currently playing right now. So there's nothing really more to say on this. I know this is going to cause some disagreements, but I don't care. So there are 4 other teams, and in my book, as great as Toronto's been playing, they've been playing very, very well. 4 other teams are playing even better than they are. And that is so good right now for this league right now. To see the parity in this league right now. That really makes me feel great. And it's going to lead to what I think could be one of the best NBA playoff years in a long time. I know people say that the Stanley Cup playoffs are better. I'm one of them. MF's one of them. So we'll find out. So Toronto Raptors number 5. MF, I know they probably should be higher, but I'm sorry. There's 4 other teams that are playing better than they are right now.
I disagree. I totally disagree. Number 1, Utah's not even in my rankings this week. I know I'm going to piss off Al Bradison, but here's the thing. I only consider playoff teams. It doesn't matter if you're doing great. If you're on the outside looking in, you're not in my rankings. See ya. Bye. Second off, you're absolutely wrong about the Toronto Raptors at number 5. I actually do have them higher. My number 5, and I'm going to piss a lot of people off, but I don't care. Golden State Warriors. They're my number 5. 8-2 in the last 10 games. They did lose, and that is an indemnity in my eyes. I'm sorry. I know they should be higher. I know they should be near the top. I don't care. Number 5 is the Golden State Warriors. Bullock, it's yours.
I agree with Fletch. The Golden State Warriors, they're my number 5. And I totally agree with everything he just mentioned there. So I'm not going to rehash anything. So let's just move right along.
Number 4, New Orleans Pelicans. 9-1 in the last 10 games. They did lose a game. They're 38-27 overall. They've been unbelievable, man. They've been unbelievable. They are definitely looking really good. And go figure, no Boogie Cousins and they're doing this. Unbelievable job, to say the very least. For me, I got no arguments with this one. My number 4, New Orleans Pelicans. Mike Bullock is yours.
Yeah, the New Orleans Pelicans, they're my number 4 as well. So let's just move right along, Florio.
Number 4, this is actually where I have the Golden State Warriors. Because they were 9-1. They had won 7 in a row, 51-14. First in everything. Field goal percentage, 3-point shooting, points scored. The rebounding they have to work on, their 13th. But let's see. Since the break, home wins over the Clippers in Oklahoma City, road wins in New York and Washington, road win in Atlanta, home wins over Brooklyn and San Antonio before losing tonight to Portland. Top 3 caliber team, no question about that whatsoever. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say on that. So your reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champion, Golden State Warriors. Although I probably should have made an addendum here, but you know what? I'm not going to do that. So, because I want to have parity in these rankings. So, nothing more to say here. Let's just move on now. And we will move on to the number 3 team. And the teams I originally had at 2 and 3. They've swapped. My number 3, this is where I have the New Orleans Pelicans. They had previously, before tonight, they were on a 10-game winning streak. 38-27, 9-1 in the last 10 games. The loss tonight. Second in field goal percentage, 3rd in points scored, 13th in rebounding, 14th in 3-point shooting. And since then, since the break, home win over Miami, road win in Milwaukee, home win in Phoenix, home win over Phoenix, nice road win at San Antonio, and then road wins in Dallas, the Clippers, and Sacramento before getting beat down at home by the Wizards tonight. They host Utah Sunday. They got Charlotte coming in Tuesday, at San Antonio Thursday. They host Houston in a huge one next Saturday night. And then they got Boston coming in on the 18th. That's a big one. And then Dallas coming in, Indiana coming in, the Lakers coming in. And that's it until the next rankings. So because of the 10-game winning streak that they had, that's why I had to put the New Orleans Pelicans in my top 3. But I originally had them at 2. But with the loss tonight, they dropped down to 3. And my number 3 now becomes number 2. And I think our top 2, I'm hopeful we're in agreement on the top 2 at least. So nothing more to say on this. So I believe I have the Pelicans at 3. So MF, let's move on to you.
Obviously, my number 3 is the Toronto Raptors. Now, after what they did tonight, especially knocking off the Houston Rockets, that was a huge win. Big deal for them. Definitely, they are worthy of the number 3 spot. Mike Bullock, I give it to you.
Bullock, are you with us?
Oh, I didn't even hear Fletch saying.
I said that my number 3 was the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, I heard what you said, but I didn't know it was my turn. So.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't quite hear. So, yeah, so I agree. My number 3 is the Toronto Raptors as well. So, nothing more to say. Let's head to the top 2 now.
Obviously, my number 2 is going to be the Portland Trail Blazers, 40-26 overall. They beat the Golden State Warriors tonight, man. That is a big deal. 9-1, 9 in a row for this team as well. Look, I'm going to say it, man. They're going to be a dangerous team. They're looking really good right now. They're playing their best basketball that I could ever see. And let me tell you, man, if it wasn't for how great the number 1 team has been, you could easily make an argument that this team could be the number 1 in the rankings. But because of how great the number 1 team was, and how impressive their run was, especially in our 2-week track that we always do, there's no way that we could have dumped this team out of the number 1 spot after what they have done. So, no, without a doubt, Portland, you've done amazing. You're in the mix. You're my number 2. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, you said Portland Trailblazers, right?
That is correct.
Yep, that's who I have too. The Portland Trailblazers, as my number 2. So nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
Trailblazers number 2. Originally, I had them at 3. They're at 2 now. With the results tonight, they haven't lost a game since February 11th. Valentine's Day night, they beat the Golden State Warriors at home. So this is nothing new for them. And then road wins over Utah and Phoenix since the All-Star break. Home win over Sacramento. Home wins over Minnesota, Oklahoma City. A road win at the Lakers. Easy home win over the Knicks. And then tonight, you beat your reigning and defending undisputed NBA champion Golden State Warriors tonight. Very big deal. Monday night, they host the Miami Heat. Cleveland comes in on Thursday. Detroit comes in on the 17th. And then they're back out on the road on the 18th against the Clippers. And then they come back home and host Houston on the 20th. And then a big one against Boston. Celtics coming in on the 23rd. Oh, boy. This team has come out of nowhere. I mean, this is the first time in a very long time, probably since 99, 2000, that we actually have a reason to take this team seriously. I mean, this is the first time since the days of Arvydas Sabonis and Stoudemire and all them, those teams that almost went to the NBA Finals in 99 and 2000. This is the best I've seen them. They're currently the number 3 seed right now. Can you believe that? They're the 3 seed right now. And they would host the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round. And I think they could. And as of right now, I would take them in the best of 7 against them. Minnesota's been reeling. They've lost 3 in a row and 4 and 6 in their last 10. So there's nothing more to say on that. So Portland Trailblazers number 2, number 1. No ifs, ands, or buts about this one. Yes, they lost tonight. They took one on the chin, but who cares? They're still my number 1, and I had them at number 1 even going into the day today, even before the loss. It is the Houston Rockets. 51-14, 9-1 in the last 10 games. They did lose, but they had previously been on a 17-game winning streak. 2nd in points scored, 9th in three-point shooting, 12th in field goal percentage, 17th in rebounds. It was their first loss since January 26th. I believe that was against the New Orleans Pelicans. But since then, I mean, 17 wins in a row. That's unheard of in the NBA. It started on January 28th with a home win over the Phoenix Suns. And then they beat the Orlando Magic after that. And then road win at San Antonio. Road wins at San Antonio, Cleveland, Brooklyn, and Miami. Home wins over Denver and Dallas. Road win at Minnesota. Home win over Sacramento. Home win over Minnesota. Road wins at Denver, Utah, and the Clippers. Then home win over Boston. Road wins at Oklahoma City and Milwaukee before finally losing tonight in Toronto against the Raptors, 108-105. Easy one at Dallas on Sunday. Tough one against San Antonio Monday. Clippers coming in on Thursday. At New Orleans for a big one next Saturday night. At Minnesota on the 18th. At Portland on the 20th. That's a big one there. And then home against Detroit on the 22nd. And that's our next power rankings. James Harden right now to me is the MVP. Mike D'Antoni's the coach of the year. And this team is in prime position to possibly win their first NBA championship since the days of Akeem Olajuwon, Vernon Maxwell, Clyde Drexler, those clutch city teams in 94 and 95 when Rudy T was leading the way. Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion. This team's starting to play like that. So, yeah, they took one on the chin tonight, but who cares? They're still number 1 in my book. Houston Rockets. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. MF, come on. Is there anybody who deserves to be number 1 more than this team does? I don't think so.
No, it is Houston. They deserve to be number one. There's no doubt about it. What they did was impressive enough. No arguments here. Bullet go.
Yeah, Houston Rockets. They're my number one as well. So Florio, I say we just put a bow on this edition of Strictly Sports.
This hard-hitting Be a Man edition of Strictly Sports is in the books. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in this evening. Of course, we're going to get into our shout-outs here. So, MF or Bullet, whoever wants to start it off, take it. And then I got some big announcements coming up. So whoever wants it first, it's yours.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you to all the great fans out there for making the show as awesome as it is. You guys are the best fans in the world. Shout out to all the super fans out there. You guys know who you guys are. Big shout out to our friends in the junior high and high school days. 2184 crew, love you guys to death. And that's really it for me. So until then, we'll see you guys in the next few days. So until then, Mike Fletcher, Hugs and Hand Pounds. I'm out. Have a good night. Bullet go.
All right, of course, we want to thank you all so very much for tuning in for another great edition of Strictly Sports, this hard-hitting edition, and for putting up with some of some of our rants that we did, mainly probably coming from me, but of course, yeah, definitely a shout out to all of our great fans who continue to support all of our shows. Of course, shout outs to all of our friends from high school days. You guys know who you are. To all of our super fans out there. To all of our news personalities from 6, 10, and 12. All the personalities from ESPN, Fox Sports, MLB Network, NFL Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, all the other networks out there. Of course, to our friends from the Road Show, former co-hosts Mary Larson and Megan Mooney, and of course the three current people: Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, and Michaela Johnson. And of course, an announcement for me. Of course, this is sort of like a promotion. Of course, some of you, I'm pretty sure Florio, you and Fletch have known from my post. Of course, I'm going to be doing the Super Plunge, which is coming up in almost a couple of weeks. It's hard to believe, at Salty Brine State Beach in Narragansett. I mean, so far in combination of online and offline donations, I've raised close to $2,000 up to this point, but I'm still looking for more. If anybody wants to donate, go to firstgiving.com and then search Special Olympics Rhode Island Torch Run Plunge, click on it, and then find the Super Plungers page, and then you'll see my name there. And if you want to donate to it, definitely donate. So can't believe it's almost here, and I'm definitely looking forward to plunging every hour on the hour for 24 hours, and hopefully it's a little bit warmer than last year. So keep up with the donations, and a special thank you to those who have donated so far. So yeah, so that's going to do it for me. So until our Fastlane preview show, this is Mike Bullock saying thank you all so very much for tuning in. Of course, you know the routine. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, and enjoy your Saturday. So, Florio, it is yours.
Yeah. Before I give you my shout outs, MF, have we agreed on the time for tomorrow? You said either 10:30 or 11. Is that correct?
It's really up to you guys. I'm willing to do 10:30 or 11 o'clock. Either or is fine. But yeah, definitely either or. So whatever is good with you guys.
What about you, Bullet?
I'm down for it.
Well, but what time? Are you better for 10:30 or are you better for 11?
11.
All right, 11 o'clock tomorrow night.
Yep, works for me. All right, so I just wanted to be doubly sure on that before we promote it. So, okay, so that's that. So Okay, as far as my shout outs are concerned, the usuals. Special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make our shows as over as they are. Our Elimination Chamber recap recently, guys, out of nowhere, over 130 views. So we want to thank you all so very much for tuning into that. It's very much appreciated for that. That's why you are the best fan in the world. Special shout out to our Wrestling Forum panelists and the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, the Twisted Angel Dee Dee Woodson, and her family, the Woodson family as always. Of course, Matt Ward, Jason Nixonbaugh, Daniel Luttrell from the UK, our other First Ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway, the other crew members, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Alvarez, and Rob Parsons, and of course the man himself, Derek Ferreira. Of course, our other personalities from 6, 10, and 12, ESPN, FS1, NHL Network, MLB Network, NFL Network, NBA TV, the whole 9 yards. Chantel McCabe from the Golf Channel, State of Sorrel, Lindsay McCormick, our friends from the Road Show, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, and Michaela Johnson, along with Megan Mooney and Mary Larson, and of course my wonderful friends and church family over at Oasis of Grace Ministries on 464 Silver Spring Street in Providence. If you need a church home, check them out, exit 25 off Route 95. Sunday morning at 9, Bible study. A little after 10 or so is Sunday service. And then Wednesday night at 7, Bible study. Other things going on. And of course, in a few weeks, March 30th, special Good Friday service. A Friday night service on March 30th. That might put a hinder on the show in a few weeks, but we'll work around that, like we always do. So that's in a few weeks, so nothing to worry about for now. So looking forward to seeing them all as always, and that's it for my shout outs. Now we have some announcements to make. My first announcement, gentlemen, I think you were pretty much expecting this, but with the tournament coming up, you know what that means, guys. It's bracket manager time. Strictly Sports, CBS Sports, bracket manager group will be up and running within the next day or so. I'm going to get that up and running. Make sure you guys get the invites and, get you guys ready. Hopefully we can get some others in there as well. And, not for money. It's just for fun, just for bragging rights. That's all it is. So I'm going to get that up and running ASAP. And then from there, tomorrow night at 11, we have our Fastlane preview. MF will host that on his channel, Brace Fan 95, as a little preview the SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view Fastlane. And then Sunday night, normally we do the recap for that. But since Sunday is Selection Sunday, we're going to be doing something very unprecedented here. We're going to be doing our Selection Sunday, what is this now? Our 7th annual Strictly Sports Selection Sunday special on Sunday night. What do you think? After the pay-per-view, guys? Or do you want to do it during the pay-per-view? It's okay with me. Whatever works for you guys.
I got to work and I get out at 10. So if you want to do 10:30, we can do that. But I probably say best thing to do is do it after the pay-per-view. Let's not interfere with our with anything. So I say 11 o'clock after the pay-per-view is over. We'll go right into the tournament.
Good for you both?
I agree as well.
Okay. There you go. So immediately following the Fastlane pay-per-view, it will not be the Fastlane recap. It will be our Selection Sunday special. We'll break it all down region by region, and we'll let you know who we think will be going to the Final Four and who will ultimately cut down the nets on Monday night, April the 2nd, at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. And then from there, we have Ridiculously Raw on Monday night. We'll review Monday Night Raw. Of course, we'll get into my Tony's take on 205 Live and Impact Wrestling. And wait till you hear what I have to say about the Impact Wrestling show. If you guys didn't see that, oh my goodness, what a show that was. I'm going to have a very high mark for that come Monday night. And then very unprecedented, on Tuesday night, we're going to have a very special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk with MF. Not only are we going to do SmackDown Live, but we're also going to do our Fastlane review right there. So it'll be our recaps of Fastlane and SmackDown Live on Tuesday night. And if there's enough time, and if MF has something, we'll see if we can get into a Mikey's Mindset following that. And the next Friday night, Strictly Sports, of course. The only thing that I know is NHL Power Rankings. And I'm pretty sure we'll probably get into some tournament stuff. We'll probably get into some recaps of some tournament games. Who knows? Maybe we'll even get to do some live commentary next week. How fun will that be? Hopefully we'll get some chances to do that. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for our Fastlane preview with MF over on his channel, Raceway 95, it's Anthony Floyo here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, Edie Woodson and Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Go to Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Saturday. And until our Fastlane recap, our Fastlane preview, I should say, tomorrow night, you were watching this very hard-hitting edition of Strictly Sports right here on the Zone 25 on YouTube.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Floyo. So long.